Hello, Valerie. Let me know what is happening there behind.
Behind the
uh,
scallop shell. This is a very significant item for anyone who is going on a Camino pilgrimage because it is one of the items that you are given as a pilgrim to identify you as being on the pilgrimage. And they often say that they'll know us by our walk. I think it's they know us by the jingle jangle because it actually kind of jingles on the back of your backpack because you're supposed to have it on the back of your backpack so that anyone anywhere in Spain knows that you are on your pilgrimage, whether you are a resident, whether you're a tourist there, or whether you happen to be another pilgrim. So it's something that's very, very significant. And the reason for the scallop shell is it was believed to be used by St. James to baptize because the water could go in the scallop. So that's the significance there. I am thrilled to be with you, even if the technology gremlins were having lots of fun with us today.
Yes, me as well. So let us officially welcome our friends, viewers, and each other to Author Talk on this day of World Book Day. It's Canada Book Day, and you are a Canadian author. I'm a Canadian publisher. It is so significant. And then, if people read my post from yesterday, it's also Copyright Day, which back in my early days, I was a permissions editor. So I got to talk to really cool people and discover them. In the 80s, we didn't have all the technologies that we have now. So it was phone calls and it was calling New York and saying, "Hey, do you know how I get in touch with Rod Seeger's wife from the uh, the Zone? What was that called? The Twilight Zone?"
Twilight Zone.
You
Yes,
got the phone. How did
yes.
you ever find me? It's like I'm just a little Nancy Drew. And so I would go on my own little I would go on my own little pilgrimages in just a different
Yes.
way. And I would love for you to share, because I went off on a little tangent there. So, welcome everyone, and let me introduce Valerie Beyer. She is a pilgrim writer, educator, coach, business strategist, speaker, and also the co-author of Sacred Wisdom, a beautiful book that you have. Good, because I meant to grab my copy. And Valerie's chapter is called The Power of Pilgrimage. All who wander are not lost. I love that. And so, do you want to let's take this in one of two ways. One, I would love to know, you have been on many sacred um, pilgrimages on El Camino and on other places.
Mhm.
What was the most significant moment for you that you would like to share?
That's a very good question. And hello to all of the viewers that are with us here today, whether it's live or joining us on the replay. Thrilled to have you here and welcome any questions that you might have for us. I've been very blessed to have gone on several sacred pilgrimages. And I also, and we'll talk about that a little bit too, is my definition of pilgrimage is a little bit different than what some people's are too. I'd say probably my most significant thing that pops immediately to mind is the pilgrimage that you have is the one that you're meant to have. Not the one that you think you're going to have, not the one that you've carefully planned out and you said, okay, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to experience that. And the people I'm going with, we're all going to have this kind of experience together collectively. And guess what? The universe often has other plans. And I find that that is what is most significant, is when I have had those aha moments and sat down and journaled about them and thought, what have I learned from this? And there was something that my spirit guides, that the universe, that the powers that be wanted me to know. And it has been, it often is life changing.
Mhm. Yeah. And I know in your book you write about a passage where there are many ways to experience a pilgrimage. And I found that so fascinating. It came up in a conversation that we all had last week as well, that it's different for everyone. And
It is.
yeah.
It really is. And that's why I was saying that my definition of a pilgrimage is a little bit different than traditionally has been the case. Often, when people say, I'm going on a pilgrimage, you do think about those spiritual journeys. You think of El Camino, you think of the road to Fatima, you think of some of the travels in France or in India, Japan, where there's a specific holy destination at the other end. And those are definitely pilgrimages, and those are definitely life-changing for most individuals that travel on them. But I also find that pilgrimage could be something that could be as simple as sitting outdoors in a quiet park. The most important thing is that you're connecting with yourself. And is that reconnection with self, that you have a sacred connection with self, wherever that might be. And it could be virtual too.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Would you like to describe that a little bit more? How you would see that occurring?
Yes, I had the opportunity of meeting an individual just after my very first Camino who traveled the Camino in their backyard because they physically could not go on the Camino in Spain. So they were here in North America and they set up marker stations around their acreage of where the mileage would be as if they had reached that point. And when they reached that point, they would go to the internet and read about Zergoa or Pamplona. I'm drawing a blank at some of the other Burgos, Lyon, some of the different spots, and then say, okay, if I was on the route, what would I see there? What would I experience? And thinking about, I've traveled 200 kilometers now, 500 kilometers now. How is my thought process? What is going through my mind? I've just come through the mountains, or I'm on the plains. I've just survived the 4 days of crossing the plains of Spain. And reflecting on it that way, and it made me pause and think, you're right. Who says you actually have to physically go somewhere? You could literally do it that way, or you could be perhaps on a stationary bike, maybe on a treadmill, and then you create those markers. And what I found really interesting since COVID is you see many challenges like that on the internet, where you can get these little badges of honor if you do certain activities and cover certain mileage, as if you had been on that physical journey. And so it really has transformed us as to what could be possible, because I think what the most important key thing is, and what threads through each of those, is the mindset.
And I know through the working with you that that is so important. And because we don't spend enough time alone, we don't spend enough time just in our own presence and the presence of whatever we're co-creating with. And to be able to, and I had never actually heard you reference it as a virtual um, pilgrimage before. But that makes so much sense that you would utilize the internet to be able to look at those places and be able to have that in your imagination what that would be like. And it reminded me of the moment on one of your journeys when it was raining. You know, the moment I'm talking about.
I can recall it and I can feel the rain.
But you had been looking down. And somebody, and it might not have been when it was raining, but you had been looking down and someone said something to the effect of, "Isn't that spectacular?"
That was
So
a different,
that was a
different
different occasion.
occasion. And the situation that you're recalling is I literally had gotten lost in my thoughts, and I was looking down, and I was just literally like, oh, I got to trudge through this. And I wasn't in reverie. I literally was, I just have to trudge through this. And I was looking down, and there was another pilgrim stopped on the side of the path and said, look at this view, isn't it spectacular? And it literally brought me out of like, view? What view? Oh. And it was that stunning of, my word, I almost missed this because I was so head down. And to me, that was a analogy of what we tend to do. We tend to sometimes get so busy in what we're doing in the tasks that we are head down in it. And we miss what is being presented to us all around us.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had, on different pilgrimages, I've had something bring me back on different occasions. And it's happened more than once. And the one that I had told you about, it was another individual. I can recall a couple other times where it was birds. And I literally had a bird come right at me. And then just before it hit me, it veered up and over. It was like, whoa. And it made me pause and look and sit down for a moment and take in what was going on around me. And then stop and reflect and journal on what was I experiencing and what was happening that I had literally almost missed the journey.
But you didn't. But you
But I
didn't.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yes.
And because, as you said, it is the journey that you are meant to be on. So those moments as well bring awareness to when you are within yourself and your, as you, I have not been on one. I look forward to
Yet.
being on one
Yet.
day yet. And
Yes.
I can only imagine that there are plenty of times when you are questioning your good sense of actually being on one and walking. How many kilometers, miles is it again?
It's 1,000 kilometers across the breadth of Spain.
Yeah, and
That's
it
the
takes
Camino de Frances. So that's the one that most people, if they think of the Camino, that's the one they think of.
which takes a month.
About 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 35 days.
Yeah. So I can imagine there are many moments when you're in that energy of head down and I don't know, I think I'd be cursing myself. But
Yes,
yeah, but
it's
you
literally
move
like,
you
what
move
was
through
I
it.
thinking?
Yeah, but you move through it and you have those moments where there is something that calls your attention to the present moment of wonder and the the reflection that would happen. It for me it would be such a gift of self-realization, self-understanding, really getting to know yourself. I think there is probably one of the better ways to get to know who you really are and what you're made of.
Yes. After my first Camino, and in fact during it, in having conversations in the evenings with other pilgrims, it was a common thread that came up, regardless of what country we were from, what nationality we were, that our political leaders should all go on a Camino or all go on a pilgrimage without the technology, without all of the aids and assistance and everything else, just themselves. And they could have an opportunity just to connect with themselves. And I think that all of us can benefit from that
Mhm.
because we do tend to, and you've heard me say this before, we carry being busy as a badge of honor. And when we do that, we lose connection with ourselves. The next thing we know is a year has gone by and we go, how in heck did a year go by? And 5 years have gone by and 10 years have gone by and we've not pursued our dreams. In fact, in many times we've lost touch with who we really are. And then when we come up against a milestone, whether it is a job loss, an empty nest, a change in relationships, positive, negative, neutral, doesn't matter, that change. And we go, whoa, who am I and how did I get here?
Right.
And
Yeah, that's the self-identity part where it's connected more to ego than it is to spirit. And when we lose that aspect of who we are, then we need to really um, take stock of who we are, right?
yes,
And be and go that's not all, like we are so much more than the job that we have or the career that we have, the people that surround us. We're so much more than all of that, right? And the physical experiences that we have, and being able to just go within is such a gift.
yes,
Yeah.
it is. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to write the chapter that I did, and why it is a springboard to a full book and a handbook that will help others get that opportunity to go on a pilgrimage. And this is where they may say, well, I can't take 5 weeks off. I've got a family, I've got commitments, I physically can't do it, whatever it might be. And that's where I encourage people to think about pilgrimage in a much broader way
Yeah.
and define it in a broader way of whether it is in your own backyard, whether it's in a weekend retreat that you do, whether it's in snippets of time virtually, that you honor yourself. And as you said, go into that self-reflection and take time for yourself.
Mhm.
I had an individual once ask me to stand up. I was in a coaching session and they asked me to stand up and put my hands on their shoulder. And then they started stepping back and said, don't move your hands. And well, the next thing I know, I'm almost ready to fall. And they stopped and said, how are you feeling? And I said, like I'm going to fall and I'm really off balance and this is uncomfortable. And they said, good. That's what we wanted you to realize, is that if you don't take care of yourself, and if you're so busy worrying about your job and the people around you and being a pleaser to everything else, you're going to fall flat on your face and then you're not good to anybody.
Right. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the analogy of the put your own face mask on first, right? So that you
Yes.
be of service to other people and help other people. And I love that you are going to be doing a handbook. Your chapter in Sacred Wisdom is gives people the start of that, right? You share your journey and all the wisdom that you've shared in the chapter, but there was also glimpses of the things that you didn't need to take, the things that you should have taken, and carry a lighter load, and all the practical aspects of doing that too. And I would imagine, because we haven't talked about it, so this is an opening for more of a public forum for you, saying I'm going to do a handbook and I'm going to do a book.
Mhm.
So I'm excited for you. You and I have talked about that, but not the details of what that would look like and what would be in the handbook, which I think would be so valuable for people. And from your perspective, from the perspective of someone who, it doesn't need to be a 5 week journey. It
Mm.
could be one day, one Saturday for 4 weeks in a row. It could look however you can imagine that within your own life, and the circumstances of family and work and all the rest of it.
Yes, exactly. And one of the things that you were talking about as we started the interview is that it was World Book Day and Canadian Book Day. And when I when you had mentioned that, I went, oh, I hadn't realized that, the publishers, the copywriters day. And so I actually looked it up just before our interview, and there were literally 59 pages. If I was to print it out, there were 59 pages of what the day is, or the week or the month, or that it's a part of. And one of the things about preparation, and I thought, it is very apropos that we are meeting today. It is, I have to glance down to get it right here. It is part of Feet Week and the
Okay.
importance of looking after your feet. And I thought, how appropriate is that in that you're talking about a pilgrimage? Because whether it's a virtual one or whether it's an actual pilgrimage, you have that envisioning of you're walking it.
Mhm. Yeah.
You're on a journey.
Wow.
And it also, interestingly, is Slay a Dragon Day. Not literally, because I happen to be a fan of dragons, so I don't want to go out and slay any real dragons. But the analogy of actually overcoming our fears and doing it.
Yeah. And never
And
mind that it was Earth Day yesterday.
yes,
Right.
yes,
So all of these connections and we did not we looked at our calendars and we chose a date without realizing that it was World Book Day, right? I'm just going on my phone to see if there are any questions,
okay.
people who are here live or people who are on the replay. Please drop your questions and we'll come back to them. And I'm not let me just okay. Um, But I love that it landed on today.
It did. It was meant to. Again,
Hmm. Well,
the experiences we have are the ones that we're meant to have. And we were meant to have it today, and that's why our calendars were both clear.
yeah. And let me just, I'm not seeing that on Facebook. Let me look in another place to see if the comments, I don't see any comments over there. So um we'll have to come back to answer those.
Yes. One
Um,
of the questions that I was asked early this week, just because I was having a conversation with someone about the book, was the preparation. We talk about the whether it's a virtual one or whether you're actually going on one physically. It's the sort of the person was asking, what kind of preparation should they do? And there is, in my mind, there is a spiritual and an emotional preparation, which is what I want the handbook to be, is helping people get themselves into that mindset. But there is a physical one. And when you said there was probably days in those 31 days that there definitely was. And day one was one of those because I started in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port and you cross the Pyrenees down into Roncesvalles in Spain. And it's 23 kilometers uphill and then the last two downhill. So you're climbing for 23 kilometers. And even though I had prepared for it, I wasn't prepared for how my shins would complain and the shin splints that I had. And it was an amazing experience after the fact of what it showed me I was capable of. Even though I was ready, if there had been a cab that had gone by, and at that point I was ready to hop on a donkey. Yes, exactly. Anything like that. But I saw an occasional cow, but that was it. The group that we were with, we literally just kept on enjoying the beauty of the mountains, but saying, "Okay, are we there yet? Are we there yet?" But it showed us when we arrived in Roncesvalles, and there was other pilgrims there who had made it that day, or perhaps had arrived the day before, of yes, you're here. You persevered. You had the tenacity to keep going.
I wonder how long you would need to, and maybe you can answer this off the top of your head, how long you would need to train for to even do that first day to go up and then because sometimes the climb is it's working another part of your legs and body, right? So,
It very much depends on, if I met wonderful individuals from Europe who hike in the mountains far more than we do. And they have the mountains right in the backyard. The Alps are right there for a lot of the countries. And so they didn't find that first day an issue at all. They're kind of looking at us like us North Americans and anyone that was from a flatter country as, what's your problem? So it very much depends. And I've said to it, and I've done it myself in subsequent ones, is I've used treadmills where I have set the inclines to be able to basically replicate what it would be like to be increasing your altitude by whatever amount. Because sometimes it was 1,200 meters for the duration of the day. For your 25, 30 kilometers, you were climbing that much. And it wasn't, completely straight up, but you were continually going up. And so I would say it's depending on your fitness level, you're going to need at least a couple of weeks, if not more.
I'm gonna need a couple of months, and I have mountains in my backyard, so I better get my. It doesn't matter if it's a year from now. I need to get started now. 'Cause I have friends who are going to watch this and go, I've been on a hike with you. Oh, yeah, we're out like in like 10 minutes. Yeah.
Well, and it's what
That's only
altitude you.
that's only one aspect of it.
Yes. Yeah. And it's what altitude you're used to as well. I've had friends that are very, very accomplished hikers, but they come out into the Rockies with me and we're up at a high altitude to start with, and then we're going up even higher and 2 or 3 kilometers and they're done.
Well, myself too. So we have Lucy online with us. Welcome, Lucy. Yes, you made it
Hi,
live.
Lucy.
And she said, virtual pilgrimage I'm experiencing right now is through the daily posts of a writer who has a Facebook page devoted to this journey. He's about halfway he's about a third of the way through the 1,000 kilometers. Yeah. And
Lucy, thank you for introducing me via Facebook to this couple that are on there, because I feel like I'm living vicariously. And some of the posts that he has made is like, oh yeah, I remember that. And it vividly brings back the experiences again. And what's been fun for me, reading their blog of how their experience is virtually I'm there, but virtually I'm journaling about how am I feeling? What am I reflecting back on? Where have I come in those intervening years as an individual? And where did my train go off the tracks and I got diverted somewhere? And now I'm coming back to the path.
yeah.
And reminding myself that that's okay too. Life gets in the way. And what is it they say about life is what happens when you're busy making other plans?
Exactly.
Yes.
And I was thinking as well that even for people like myself who have never had that experience, been on that journey, that you could still follow along and go do your own local one. Like
Yes,
right now, today.
exactly.
Something new.
Again, it goes back to that mindset. You make a decision that I'm ready, and that's part of that preparation. I'm emotionally ready to come back to me, to find myself, to reconnect with self. And yes, it could be, Lucy being where she is and the terrain that she's in, and just having a journey down the road from where she is. It could be yourself taking a walk along the lake. It could be taking a walk in an urban setting. And I've done that too, where you take in, and I've had people stop me and say, what are you looking at? Because I'm looking up at a building. And what I've noticed is a reflection of an old church in a skyscraper. So you've got that juxtaposition of something that's several centuries old in something that's this decade. And individuals who have said to me, I've lived here all my life and I've never noticed that. Because again, head down, so busy. And in that case, I was the one that was like, look at this.
Right.
Look at this view. And you get people to stop.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I would encourage our listeners to be open to that, is not to be so busy in their day to day that they're not open to or that they miss the signals.
Right.
Because I think the universe has a way of keep coming back around to you
Mhm.
until you listen.
Absolutely. And it's going to keep coming until you do. Right? It's like the lessons that we learn in life. It's like, oh, I thought I learned that one already. And it's like, no, we can go a little deeper because that's what is required of you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But I
And
do,
that's what a pilgrimage does so much.
yeah. And to make the comparison too, because we're on, Canada Book Day, World Book Day, is that the same applies to writing a book.
Yes.
Same mindset that we require to do the many different desires that we have to bring things into perspective and completion is to be able to have that mindset that is about being present and saying yes to yourself.
Yes.
And then you find a way, the universe will, oh, well, you had this in your first experience, right? Where you had been putting it off because you're working you have a big job and you're working and family, whatever the excuses were, and then you finally decided. And that's what it,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Back to your comment about being an author and it's World Book Day, Canada Book Day. That was one of the things that I kept putting off too. I had wanted to write about the pilgrimage and my experience with it since my very first pilgrimage and didn't make the time. It wasn't that I didn't have the time, I didn't prioritize it enough to make the time. And I know you've spoken about the percentage of people. It's in the 80 percentage, right? That
Like
want to write a
82%.
book or think they've got
82%
it.
of people in North America, 82% of the people say they want to write a book, 3% do, and 1% actually get published. And that's stats from the New York Times. And yeah, and so it is a big desire because we all have these different life experiences and we're here to share. We're here to co-create with others and to offer our experience so they might be able to move through something a little bit easier. So you writing a handbook and writing your next book after that will help people be more prepared for the journey that they're going to go on, whether it is in their backyard or in Spain.
Yes. And what it will do is give them the connection with themselves, which enables them to be and do their divine purpose
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
their authentic self.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it does start with who we want to be. We talk about that in writing a book too. Who do you want to become at as you finish up writing your book? Because you are
Yes,
going to be a different person with all of the experiences that we have. And it doesn't matter the thing is, if when we go through a process, we're not the same people that we were a half an hour ago,
that's right.
right? At the beginning of the year, and oh my goodness, how is it May next week?
Right?
Right. So time is going to pass anyway,
That's
our
right.
sweet friends. And so it's up to decide to say yes to yourself on whatever that is. And
That's right.
I am so excited for, us continuing to bring the experiences that you have and the knowledge and wisdom that you have around pilgrimages um, into another book formation and bring that wisdom down into physical form.
Yes. And I want to encourage people, regardless of where they are in their life, whether they are in their 20s or younger, or whether they are an octogenarian. If they have a desire to do a pilgrimage, whatever they are wanting to define that as, to do it.
Mm. Yeah.
You're, it's not something that is age related.
Oh, I was looking at some pictures and well, back in sort of ancient times when those paths started to get worn, right? There was a lot of elderly people. There was people of all walks of life.
Hmm.
Still are all walks of life, all ages, and yeah, I mean, I'll be doing this in my late 60s, so.
That's right. And as Lucy was commenting, she's on a virtual pilgrimage right now.
Yeah, yeah. She's that, and
So,
that's so
and you can
amazing.
do it at
Yeah.
any age.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Angela Kay has also joined us. Thank you. Lovely to see you
Hi,
here.
Angela.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Oh, well, first of all, any last words? And I would love to ask the question of if there was one piece of advice, if you could only share one more thing with the listeners, what would that be?
Go wandering. Go wandering.
All who
Because you're
are.
not lost. Be an adventurer. Live.
Hmm. Yeah, beautiful.
Don't put off tomorrow till tomorrow.
Hmm. Yeah. And how can people get in touch with you? What's the
I'm
easiest?
on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and those are probably the two easiest ways of reaching me. And you can also reach me by my email address, which is vjbeyer@gmail.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It was lovely being here with you and enjoy the rest of World Book Day and let's let's go
It's
walk.
also Cherry Cheesecake Day, so
Oh,
I
is it
think that
cherry
we all
cheese?
need to go out and have
It
some
is
cherry
it is
cheesecake.
a big day. So have some tea, some cheesecake, and go read a book. Sacred
Exactly.
wisdom is waiting for you.
Yes. Thank you, Pamela. It's been an honor and a privilege to join you again today.
Oh,
So,
and there is the dog. Okay. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Have a great day.